Hi, this is Kevin Deal, and today we're going to talk about why you should monoblock your amp. So should you get a monoblock amp? And what's all that stuff about anyway? And what's the good stuff? What's the bad stuff? I'm wearing my new Alfa Romeo shirt my loving wife, Miss Laura, got for me. And then I came to work, and we were having fun. We got in these new Fine Audio F702 SPs. It's a brand new speaker. It is unbelievable. It is scary good, and they're 96 dB efficient as I recall, and so they don't require that much power. So it brought about this whole discussion about, let's take this amp and then let's add another one and monoblock it, and what do you get from doing it, and does it sound better because of the power, or why does it sound better? So I'm going to see if I can add a little clarity to you about that. Back in the old days, there was always the rumors going around like, oh, don't run an amplifier if it says it's bridge because they don't sound as good. And there might be some truth to that. I mean, that was just that stuff that seems to go around, especially when you work at a stereo store. But we're not talking about bridging this amplifier. And in fact, I don't think that we're really talking about bridging I think any of the amplifiers that we sell. We monoblock them, which is quite different. You look at Balanced Audio Technology, amazing manufacturer, amazing manufacturers. They make great stuff, and they have the ability to monoblock their amps. And in fact, you can actually add more of them. You can take one of their power amps, monoblock it, and then you can add another one to it and actually run two amplifiers strapped together. And as you do so, the sound quality improves. The damping factor goes down. The noise goes down. And it is really something amazing. But then that's an amplifier that, those amplifiers are going to be a little bit more expensive. And maybe you don't want to spend quite that much money. So can you do that same thing with something that's a little more reasonable? I'm going to kind of cover that for you real quick. PrimaLuna has done things like Balanced Audio Technology. They do things quite different. When you take a PrimaLuna tube, and now the integrated amps don't do it, okay? So forget that stuff. But PrimaLuna power amps have the ability to flip a switch and run in mono. And when you do that, the amplifiers are operating with two output transformers, one for the positive leg of the signal, one for the negative leg of the signal. And it is absolutely epic. And what happens then is the output impedance lowers naturally, and that increases the damping factor. And that means you're going to get just a little bit better bass control. But the other thing that happens is the noise floor drops a little bit. So what is it that will make a pair of these amps, like this is the little EVO 100, even this amplifier will do it. Why would it sound better? Is it because you're going to get more watts? Hey, Kevin, I need 100 watts. Remember, I told you that. If you think that 100 watts means something, then tune out here and go to Amazon and go buy a 100 watt Sony receiver for $179 and just click out. Power does not mean a damn thing for sound quality. It doesn't mean anything for dynamic range. It doesn't mean anything for bass response. It doesn't mean anything for sound quality. Wattage has to do with the ability to play louder. And that's why the idea of bridging amps was a little more popular in the world of in MI, in the music industry, in pro audio, right? They're not really, when you're doing big old PA speakers and you need to just get the pinch hitting for Pedro Borbon, Manny Moda. When you need that, it doesn't necessarily have to sound amazing, right? So you can take and bridge a bunch of amps and just punch the power out without big regard of, oh my God, the damping factor dropped, right? And now I'm losing control and it doesn't sound as good, but it is playing louder. But in hi-fi, we don't need that. What did I tell you every time you're on this channel, and I sound like a broken record? Parts and engineering. You cannot power your way to good sound. Drop the noise floor. drop the noise floor. And that's what we're talking about here. So it is not that a pair of these is going to sound better because of more power. Because, you know, as long as you have enough power, that's what counts. So the bass response is going to be a function of the bandwidth. It's going to be a function of the quality of the output transformers. The noise floor dropping is going to be a function of the power supply and the ability to get rid of AC ripple and high frequency hash. That's how you get really good sound. That's why I always tell you to look inside the box. So when you run a pair of these, does the power go up? Yes. But you're not going to be using more power. You're still going to be using the same amount of power. So why do it sound better? It sounds better because you're lowering the output impedance, you can get a little bit better control, and you're dropping the noise. Hell yeah. So this amplifier is 36 watts per channel, and it will double when you monoblock it, and it will be absolutely glorious, and they're just a little bit over, like a little bit more than $5,000 a pair. So to be able to have all of that in a real amp, this is the real deal, man. If I had just one of these and a pair of good speakers, I'd be happy the rest of my life. Get one of these amps and then save up your money to buy another one later if you're on a budget, right? You know, get a system that you can build on. Now, when you go from this EVO 100 to the 300, well, now you're getting all the crazy stuff, right? You're going to be getting the ability to go from triode to ultralinear. You're going to have balanced inputs as well as single-ended inputs. And the balanced inputs are going to be transformer coupled, so it's doing the balance the right way. It has Swiss wiring. It has Swiss-made capacitors. I mean, it's just really badass. And it has their biggest and best output transformers. But you know what? Now, this amplifier is a little over $4,000. This amplifier has the same amount of power, more or less, than this one does. So there you go. It's not the power that's important. It's the quality of the parts. This has got the big iron. This has got a bigger power transformer. This has got a more elaborate power supply. I mean, again, they're all PrimaLunas at their heart. They're all badass. Oh, and this one will run in triode and ultralinear. Then we go up to this one here, and this is where the power doubles. You go from about 36 watts to 70 some odd watts, depending on what tube you're using, maybe more. And then if you monoblock these, then it's going to go to 140 watts or more because you are running 8 output tubes. This is the EVO 400 power amp. And arguably one of the best. Now, I'm going to tell you something, though. If I had some moderately efficient speakers, if I'm not going to be chasing down like things like Maggie's and Martin Logan's and some speakers that are harder to drive, if I'm going to be staying with speakers that are pretty easy to drive, moderately efficient, you know, EVO 300s, I think if you're looking for the ultimate performance, because I'm telling you, I'm just being honest, man. I'll put this up against anything on the market, period. Regardless of price, I'll put it up against it. Just one of these. And then if you run a pair of them, I mean, you're really cooking with gas. But this is only 36 watts per channel, and still it will rock your world. Running a pair of these, I think, is probably one of the best buys in audio. You can get a pair of these for well under $9,000, and it's just going to be crazy, crazy good. This one's going to be a little more money. It's an incredible value, and it's balls out because it's got 8 power tubes. Oh my God. Now, I want to say one more thing about the speaker taps. The output transformers on these amps are different than our integrated amps. The integrated amps have a 2 ohm tap and a 4 ohm tap, right? Remember that. And you always want to use the tap that sounds best. Do not go look at your speaker and say, it says it's 8 ohms, I guess I'll use the 8 ohm tap. Klipsch speakers, according to Roy, the chief engineer at Klipsch, he says most all the time you're going to want to, even if they say 8 ohms, he says on a tube amp, he says run them on the 4 ohm tap. That's what the man says, right? And he was here when he said it. So what's cool on all of these is this. These amps have 3 speaker taps. You've got a 4 ohm tap, an 8 ohm tap, and a 16 ohm tap for some of those really crazy, super cool horns, right? But if you monoblock them, all of those numbers cut in half. So if I take any of these amplifiers, the speaker taps will then become a 2 ohm tap, a 4 ohm tap, and an 8 ohm tap. And the beauty of that is that 2 ohm tap can be used with things like, magnaplanars and that kind of stuff. And that's really, really cool. But I'm telling you again, man, I had a pair of Martin Logan CLSs way back in the day, and my amplifier back then, a jillion years ago, these were the originals. My amplifier back then had a 4 ohm tap, an 8 ohm tap, and a 16 ohm tap. And all the guys back then said, nope, run them on the 16 ohm tap. I don't even remember how that got around, but that's what we were doing. But that was a lifetime ago. So there's our little lesson on monoblocking and running speaker taps and all that fun stuff. I got inspired today and I wanted to talk to you folks. I hope you had a great holiday. And if you have any questions, reach out to us. Thanks.